The night shift supervisor tormented me relentlessly, assuming I was a destitute janitor, entirely unaware I was the silent majority owner sent to uncover why this specific warehouse kept bleeding millions in inventory. I've always blended into the background perfectly, petite, quiet, dressing in cheap flannels. When our equity firm flagged the West Loop Fulfillment Center for $4 million in damaged goods, I refused to send a corporate team. I knew the culprits would hide their tracks. Instead, I fabricated a background as a struggling cleaner. My only weapon was a smartwatch with a microscopic lens, programmed to snap time-stamped photos directly to our cloud servers. My legal team was on standby, ready to instantly trigger local authorities if things grew dangerous. I arrived for my first shift at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, clutching a mop bucket and fake badge. The supervisor, a broad-shouldered guy named Derek, glared down at me like I was gum on his boots. "Keep your head down and the concrete dry. You mess up once, you're on the street," he snapped. He immediately assigned me to the hazardous spill aisle without offering safety gear, just thin latex gloves. The break room was strictly off limits. I ate my cold dinner on a broken pallet near the industrial compactors. I quickly realized how toxic this ecosystem was, but I needed indisputable evidence of the financial bleed. The real horror wasn't how they treated me, but how they psychologically destroyed the vulnerable crew. There was Mateo, working 2 manual labor jobs to keep his family's bakery from foreclosure, and Caleb, fresh out of juvenile detention and terrified of violating parole. On my third night, I watched Derek deliberately drive a forklift straight into a stacked pallet of high-end home electronics. He physically cornered Mateo, forcing the older man to log the entire shipment as damaged in transit. When Mateo hesitated, Derek threatened to call immigration on his relatives. Later that week, the assistant supervisor screamed at Caleb for taking a 3-minute bathroom break, 1 phone call to your PO, and you're back in a concrete cell by breakfast. My chest tightened painfully. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to stop myself from intervening. If I broke cover prematurely, Derek would effortlessly claim it was an accident, and the theft would continue. I desperately needed the smoking gun. On Friday at 3:15 a.m., Mateo dragged his mop past me. "Don't ever look at them. Just clean and survive the night," he muttered. I nodded silently, slipping my hand into my pocket to subtly angle my watch face. I caught Derek and his assistant actively loading the supposedly destroyed laptops into an unmarked transit van backed up to loading bay 4. I snapped 12 perfect, time-stamped shots of the license plate and the stolen goods. The inevitable breaking point arrived late Sunday night. Derek realized a massive incoming shipment of industrial generators was unaccounted for in the ledger, a glaring $65,000 discrepancy he couldn't erase. Instead of trying to cover it up, he maliciously decided to frame Caleb. He marched onto the floor, shoved a falsified loss report against Caleb's chest, and ordered him to sign it. "You're taking the fall for this loss, convict," Derek sneered, his voice echoing across the empty concrete. "Sign the paper right now, or I dial your parole officer." Caleb was hyperventilating, tears streaming down his panicked face, his pen shaking violently. "Don't sign a damn thing," I said, stepping boldly out from behind the towering racks. I dropped my mop, the plastic handle clattering loudly. Derek whipped around, his face twisting into a snarl. "Excuse me? You're fired, you little rat. Get out before I call the cops." I didn't flinch. Instead, I pulled out my phone. "Actually, I already called them," I replied, my voice perfectly steady. "Along with the state insurance fraud division." I tossed my thick, embossed business card onto the steel packing table. "I'm the managing partner of the holding group that owns this facility. I've been uploading photos of your lucrative midnight loading dock sales all week long." Derek stepped back abruptly, the color completely draining from his face as the heavy metal bay doors suddenly whirred shut, locked down remotely by the main security system. Flashing red and blue lights illuminated the frosted skylights above us. As the local police fraud division walked purposefully onto the floor, I turned to Mateo and Caleb, who were frozen in absolute disbelief. "You both have substantial hazard pay coming," I told them quietly, "and nobody is ever touching your jobs again." As the officers escorted Derek away in heavy handcuffs, stripped of his clipboard and radio, I looked right at him and said exactly 5 words.